All right, everybody, I am here to share how I have been extending the NPSP Data Import tool for my org to work more effectively. Um, so let's see if I can figure out how to make this be smaller and down in the corner. Awesome. And now let me flip over to, this is my org. Oh, I totally forgot. Someone wants to say hi to everyone. Um, my bad. Rosie wants to say hi to everybody out there in Salesforce land. Hello, she says. And this year, will someone please invite me to come to San Francisco to Dreamforce? I hate staying at home all by myself while Daddy goes to Salesforce Dreamforce. Somebody please invite me. I'm a great petting person. I can calm everybody down. Okay, so you begged enough, Rosie. Perhaps you'll get your wish somehow. Um, so this is my SIM admin application where I stole this idea from someone. I put together a bunch of tabs that have to do with administration and PSP settings and data import batches, duplicate management, etc. But I have some data import records here that I want to show you. They demonstrate what I've extended here. So I'm going to open up this data import and I'm going to go ahead and make me even a little smaller. All right. So this has the status of imported. I added something called the import story, which just lets me be able to see right in Salesforce, what was this about? This was me testing the volunteer sign up for an existing volunteer job. So anyway, so here's contact one, the names, and it matched me up to my existing contact in Salesforce. Great. Account was empty. Contact two is empty. Account two is empty. Home address is empty. Donation information is all empty. Case information, we'll talk more about that in a minute. But here's the volunteer information, which is what I wanted specifically to show you here. This, I ask NPSP Data Import to add a job, a volunteer hour that is completed. The volunteer hour number was 126604, so it already existed, so I gave it the volunteer hour number. And these are some numbers that I have in my org that get added into the total work. That's a cost out of pocket is a customization I've added, and the volunteer comment gets added. So after the NPSP data import ran, it matched it to the existing record 126604, which should now in fact have the status of completed and have those numbers on them if it's successfully imported. Let's see. So here come the details. It's in this completed status. There's hours and all of that imported, so it worked great. So let's go back and look at another record. Here is an import record where someone signed up for a shift. So let me show you how that works. It's going to match to me, which is fine. But let's go down to the volunteer information at the bottom of the page. So I was asking it to create a volunteer that's completed. Oh, I'm sorry, I looked at the same one. My bad. Existing shift, here we go. That's the one I wanted to look at. So it's going to be matching it to me again. And this time, instead of having it be an pre-existing volunteer hour, instead, we're giving it a volunteer shift name. So the shift that we're wanting to sign up for is that number right there. And here are the information that we're wanting, and we're wanting to put it in the status of web setup. And so it's created a new volunteer hour, 126607, which should belong to shift 25550. So if we go look at that, in fact, this shift belongs to 25550, which was the tour job, and it's been assigned to me, and it's in web sign up status. So the import worked. Likewise, there's one more mode that I built for myself to bring in volunteer hours, and that is a shiftless sign up. So here we go, looking at it again. If I go down to the bottom, we ask it to create a volunteer hour that's completed for the job name tour on this date with these items, and it's going to have done that, but there won't be a shift, and so that's why it needed the date. So you're seeing the three different ways that it kind of works. So let me walk you through what's going on. The way I'm using this is I have a spreadsheet. Here's my little Google spreadsheet. Um, it's based on the NPSP Data Import template, so it should look familiar, but I'm populating it with data, and the first column is the SIM story that you saw on the import record. And then as we go along here, I've added in the far right columns for my volunteer data, volunteer status, volunteer number, shift, job name, etc. Okay. And then in my NPSP data import field itself, record itself, I've added custom fields to hold all of that information. Okay, so I just added some custom fields, and they're just custom fields that are going to be accessed later. So what I'm doing is I'm moving the data from this spreadsheet into a record with some custom fields added to the NPSP Data Import record. And NPSP Data Import does its job and sets the status of NPSP Data Import record to imported. And then I have a process builder that says, hey, you just changed an NPSP Data Import record to completed, and the volunteer hour status field is not empty, so I need to do something. And so I'm going to call a flow, which will finish the job for me. So when NPSP sets the NPSP data record, import record to completed, and I have defined those volunteer fields, Process Builder is going to call a flow for me. All it's going to pass it in the flow is, in fact, the record ID of the NPSP data import record. That's all it's going to get. So let's go to low flow. First thing it's going to do is do a fast lookup and get the data import record, and it's going to examine the fields and decide which of the three modes are being done. If I have supplied the exact volunteer hour, it's going to update that record, and then it's going to get the ID of the record, and it's going to set it on the NPSP data import record. Because if you remember, back over here on the field, we have this imported volunteer hour so that you can always tell what record was modified. All right, so back flow. That's what happens if it updates. It goes down this path here. If I give it the exact shift, it looks up the shift, it creates a new volunteer hour using the data that's on the shift and that's on the NPSP data import record, and then it sets the volunteer hour on the NPSP data import record, and it's finished. And lastly, if it's shiftless, it gets the job that I have given it, and it makes a volunteer hour using the information that's on the job and the NPSP data import record, and it does the same updating of the NPSP data import record, and it finishes. So that's pretty cool. And to make this all one step finished and better, I am using Zapier. I'm using Zapier to move data from the spreadsheet, the Google spreadsheet here, in real time into Salesforce. So what happens is anytime a record is changed in this spreadsheet, then Zapier goes to work. And because the possibility exists that the NPSP data import record comment could be long, it truncates it. I am importing all of my NPSP data import records at night. And so depending on the story, I use a different batch import job configuration. And so this is just a little lookup table that is deciding what batch job to assign the NPSP data import record to. And because I'm leaving something blank that I want to be by default usually, I have a little action here to change it from blank to default checked. And then all the work really here is done to create in Salesforce from Zapier an NPSP data import object. And all it does is fill in all those values that you saw. You know, it took a minute to set this up, but it's setting up all these values and transferring all the data that's possible to have in that spreadsheet to the NPSP data import record. So what happens is various automations that I have and various integrations that I have, including forms on our website, and including orientation video quizzes, including forms that my staff is using, all of those, including donation forms and donation payments receipts and things like that, they all result in an NPSP story, and it results in a new line in the spreadsheet, which in turn, because of Zapier, causes an NPSP data import record to happen. That night, NPSP matches up the contacts and the accounts. Process Builder adds any volunteer hour that I've asked for, and it's all finished. And all I have to do as an admin is occasionally come look at my list view for data imports and see if I have anything that has failed to import. So failed data imports. I haven't looked at this in a while. It might not be 0, but it is. Yay. So, and you know, this is a live org, so we can talk about things that are to be imported. Today, we have 33 items that have been created. People expressing interest on our site of our Join Us form for volunteering, people taking orientation quizzes. That appears to be most of it. So that's mostly what's gone on today, is a lot of volunteer stuff. We're starting up our volunteer season with the new semester. So that's what's been going on. But I just wanted to show you how NPSP data import tool can be extended just by using Process Builder. I'm using NPSP to do all the heavy lifting of finding the right contact, and then I just used a very simple flow. You know, that's all it is right there to build my volunteer hour using one of 3 methods, either updating an existing volunteer hour, or adding a volunteer hour to a selected shift, or adding a shiftless volunteer hour to a selected job. So very simple, I think. I did mention in passing that case information. I did exactly the same thing for cases. So if NPSP data import successfully imports a record, I have some fields now in the NPSP data import object that result in a new case. And Process Builder is able to do that all on its own. So if an import record is completed and the case fields are not blank, it actually creates a case. Let me move myself off of it, using internal comment and linking it to the contact with a description and case origin, an owner, case reason, subject, and a case type. And so not only can my NPSP data import record now create counts, contacts, add people to campaigns, make donations, make payments, I now have the ability as well to add volunteer hours and add cases. So happy extending yourself. I hope this has been interesting and useful. It's also been the first time I've ever used this particular screencasting tool, so I hope that worked out all right. Come here, Rosie. Let's tell your fan base goodbye. So this is Terry Cole at mightyforce.org saying good night. And Rosie says, please invite me to Dreamforce. I really want to come this year. All right. Good night, everybody.